Let's talk about politics.
Trump versus Clinton.
Who said that? Who said that? Anyway, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to talk about Montesquieu's take on governing. His publication in which he describes this was called De Spirit de Loi, which in English means spirit of the law, or spirit of law. It sounds better in French. He published this in 1748 with the help of Salonist and novelist Claudine Guérin de Tessin. Females were not allowed to think, and he himself did not think females were equal, yet she helped him write one of the most important things he's done. How is that for hypocrisy? This book was condemned by the Catholic Church in 1751, so a bestseller. This work inspired many people afterward. If you hadn't noticed, it's how most governments work today. Well, most working governments. He spent 20 years researching this and writing this book, in which he talks about many things, like climate, nature, anthropology, society, and cultures. To him, there are three types of ruling: monarchy, a republic, which is an elected leader, and despotism, which is a dictatorship. He claimed that the difference between a monarchy and a despotism is the containment of the ruler's power. Despotism meaning there was no control over what he does. There was no rules in place. It also stated that a republic can either be democratic or aristocratic, depending on how much of the people's say is in it, or the general populace. So, aristocratic republic, all the aristocrats elected an official, but the officials only do really what the aristocrats want, not anyone else. To be honest, sounds like a lot of today's politics, but he thought that a republic would be the best form, but things would need to be for the people, so democratic. But even this did not fully promise liberty, as he said. Through research, he figured that things should be balanced more between officials. By improving on what John Locke's ideas, he proposed that there should be three branches of government, and through dividing the powers between them, no branch would outweigh the other one. He based this model on the constitution of the Roman Empire and the British constitutional system. The Roman government was split for the same reason, but only the British was made up of a monarch, a parliament, and the courts, whilst the Romans' parliament was aristocratic. The monarch, parliament, and courts is really what he wanted. He thought that that was the only way this would work. Okay, the first branch is executive. They're the enforcers of the rules, or laws. In his time, this would be the king or ruler or whoever's in charge, whoever's taken over. They would enforce laws that would be made by the legislative branch and interpreted by the judicial branch. This doesn't mean that if you broke a law, you would have to go to the executives. It means that the executives would have made the law, and that the judicial court would say if you're guilty or not, or how guilty you are, and would determine what the punishment was. So in today's democracy, bills are made by the House of Commons in Canada, approved by the Senate, then approved by the Prime Minister, and then interpreted by the court systems. The executives also have the power to veto the legislation if they're not doing what is acceptable, or what they deem is acceptable. The second branch is legislature, the makers of laws, so Parliament. They would make laws accordance to their nation, so any change that happens, any problem that arises, they will then make a bill to sort of try and fix that. They would make laws to be approved and enforced by the executives and interpreted by the judicial branch. So relying on them both to carry out this law to be. They're also an important part of governing because they help things work inside a government, maintain things. But they do not get undermined by the fact that they control taxes. That was one of the things he wanted them to be able to do. So that can stop the executives if they're trying to take over. So if the monarch wants to decide everything in this case, they could take away his money or lower his money just to sort of keep him in line. He also said that there had to be two houses in this system, which one cannot pass a law without the other one. So if they both do not agree, the one could counteract the other one, so a bill doesn't go up and eventually becomes a law. The third branch is the judicial branch, the interpreters of laws, so courts and lawyers. And to lower the fear of lawyers and the overall system, because they're really scary, they are not to make their own laws, but instead to go by what's given to them. They take what the executives have enforced and what the legislators have made and translate it and explain so that the public understands all aspects of the law. This also may have to create punishment guidelines, variants of the law by degrees of offense. So, yeah, some laws they'll kind of vary in what's acceptable and what isn't, and they would determine that. They will also dispute any claims or arguments against cases, so personal cases. He thought that this one in particular, this branch, needed to be independent. So, need to be dependent on the others, but also controlling in their own way. So they'd make the laws to what they've interpreted, sort of thing. So these systems are very similar to what we have today, because a lot of people after this have said, hey, this seems to work for the most part. And that was Montesquieu's separation of powers. Hello, this is Midnight Thoughts with the Gourd and the Gourd.